Hello guys, my name is John, I'm the Geeky Fanboy, and I hope you have been enjoying your holidays so far. Today I'm reviewing a movie that I'm actually surprised I haven't seen up to this point, namely Justice League. Since Aquaman is out now, and I'm actually gonna go watch this right after filming this video, I thought it was finally about time that I go watch Justice League, since this is kind of Aquaman's first big time on the screen, the big screen, along with everyone else. And since I'm actually one of the few people who love Batman v Superman, I was actually quite thrilled to finally see Justice League. So here are my thoughts on it. So I guess one could say that Justice League has kind of an infamous reputation at this point. It wasn't really well received, neither by critics or fans or casual moviegoers. And, well, I can see why, but also I can't. Like, there are definitely some problems with the movie, which I'm gonna talk about in a couple of minutes, but I honestly can't see why it has been bashed like that by nearly everyone, I guess. Like, I haven't seen any kind of opinion on, especially on the internet, where someone was like, "Oh yeah, I actually really enjoyed this movie," or "it was really cool." Like, no, the general consensus on this seems to be that this is, well, a step back from DC's hit, which was Wonder Woman. But overall, I can say I did enjoy this movie a lot. Like, I love the whole cast of characters we have here, and I think the interactions work mostly very well. I also like that while it does have this more like serious, darker edge that we're used to with DC movies, it's not completely dark. It's not completely full of itself. It's super serious. Like, we do have some jokes, we have some comic relief, like especially with the character of the Flash and also with Aquaman a bit. So I do like that we have this sort of lighter nature there. Also, Ben Affleck's Batman is, yeah, sure, he's still serious because, you know, Batman, but I like that he also gets to say some funny lines, and this dry sense of humor shines really through here, and I like that. And I do like that Diana Prince, the Wonder Woman, gets to be like this beacon of hope. She has some very charming moments with almost everyone in the group, and I like that she kind of has to keep them together, and she's a bit like, she is a bit softer, but you can also see this like chivalrous side she has that we know from the Wonder Woman solo movie. So I do like that we get to see basically all the best sides of every character in this movie. Obviously also we have Superman back in this one. I'm a bit upset that they cut the Superman in the dark and like in the black suit. That would have looked so cool. Honestly, I was always looking forward to it, even though I know that it was not going to be in the final version of the movie. But yeah, well, I still think it works, like how they did with bringing him back, and I like that he doesn't immediately snap back into the classic Superman role we know, so that he is a way of think, oh my god, has he turned like really evil now? Is he the bad guy? And like for a couple of minutes they do have to fight him, and I mean, it's cliche as it is. It is Lois Lane at the end who like kind of brings him around, and I do like that. Speaking of the new characters, which in this case are obviously the Flash, Barry Allen, Ezra Miller, and Jason Momoa as Aquaman. And I must say, perfect casting. Honestly, perfect casting. I did enjoy both characters a lot. I like that the Flash is like this really insecure kid who doesn't have friends and wants to hang out with people, wants to do cool stuff with his powers finally, and he's actually a bit nervous to fight bad guys because this is like the first time he's actually doing this. And I like that he brings this light, just sort of nature to the Justice League. And he's like the son of everybody, and everyone tries to kind of motivate him and talk him into stuff and try to make him feel comfortable. I do like the dynamic he has with everyone, and I like that with him they bring in like this really warmer, bit childish side, and like he gets to say a lot of the funny lines, which I think works perfectly well for this kind of Flash they've created in this movie. Aquaman is also really cool. I thought he was pretty badass. I like that he also gets to do a bit more of the humor, but like his sense of humor is a bit more like in your face and a bit more dry. And he has this really badass, tough, hard-boiled sort of nature, like the guy who doesn't take any shit from anybody, basically, not even from Bruce Wayne. And I like that. Like for a first big screen appearance before like the solo movie now, I think this works so well. You already kind of know what kind of man this guy is now. And I think Jason Momoa is perfect casting for this kind of Aquaman we have for like this tougher, grittier version, and I really, really enjoyed watching him. Wonder Woman, again, I also enjoyed a lot. I mean, I already loved the solo movie with her, and I think in this she basically just continues basically being the secret favorite, but basically obviously obvious favorite within the Justice League. I love the casting. I love the actress Gal Gadot. I never remember how you pronounce her name. I'm sorry, but I really, really like this actress. I like a lot. I also like that we get to see some action from the Amazons again. That was pretty cool. I didn't expect that we were gonna see them again. Though I noticed with like the costume design, I really enjoyed the costume design in the Wonder Woman solo movie regarding like the armor and everything, because it looked like armor, and in Justice League they kind of went into this cliche of sexy armor for female warriors. Not too much, but I still kind of noticed it. And then we have our bad guy, Steppenwolf. Yeah, I mean, he's pretty generic in this movie, you have to say. He's like your classic bad guy who wants to gather some weird power source to take over or destroy the world or unleash some evil power or whatever. Like, sure, he's not the smartest or the most interesting bad guy you could have, but I think he works perfectly fine for this sort of movie. And I also didn't expect there to be like any big grand villain to come out of this movie. I think he worked fine for what this movie is, and he worked fine as the villain to bring everyone together, because he was too powerful for one of them. He was too powerful for just like 3 or 4 of them. No, they needed everyone to defeat him. And yeah, I mean, sure, he's nothing to write home about, but honestly, I didn't mind that while watching it, and he had a cool design, and I did like those insect moth creature thingies. They were kind of cool. And yeah, it's like the whole thread and the villain, it's nothing special, but it also didn't really disturb me in any way, or yeah, it didn't really disappoint me. It was basically what I expected. It was mainstream, generic, but normal, but it worked well, I thought. Like, regarding the stuff that could have worked better was like the storytelling and the pacing, especially like in the first half, I'd say, because at some points the story does move a bit too quickly, or it's just being too confusing. Like, I was watching this with my father, and sometimes he had to jump in and ask me stuff, what was happening or what's going on now. And I also sometimes had to think a bit before I could answer him, like in terms of motivations or what was being explained, because sometimes stuff was really rushed, or like everything was thrown at you, or they kind of just went through and you were like, oh, hang on, was this important now? Or I thought we were going to stay here a bit longer. Like, there were those moments where I thought, couldn't we stay here like for a couple of minutes longer? Or like, you don't have to rush through it, like take your time. Yeah, so like I said, some of the explanations could have been done a bit better or a bit more clearly. Then I would have liked to see some more of Superman, if I'm being honest, like, or at least something that was not what I totally expected would happen anyway, like with, like, him getting reborn and all that, and Lois, and then him joining the fight after all. Like, this is basically what you expect at the beginning of this movie anyway, so I thought we were gonna get at least one new thing, but yeah, I hoped Superman would, like, not get all the focus, but just some different stuff than what we actually got. Then, sure, you could complain about the villain, like I said, because he's pretty generic. Well, like I said, he works fine for me, but I could very well understand if someone said, well, this is like super boring and not interesting at all. So yeah, I do get that. Sometimes some of the editing also was bothering me, not too much, but just a bit. Sometimes during action scenes it was cut a bit too quickly, or I couldn't quite see what was happening, but that was mostly fine. The action scenes were mostly fine overall, I'd say. And yeah, in some of the scenes where I said that the pacing was a bit weird, or yeah, where some explanations could have been drawn out a bit, like sometimes the editing there was a bit too quick or too weird, where I thought, oh, this was the scene already? I thought we were gonna get a bit more, so sometimes I thought that the pacing there in terms of editing was a bit weird. So you could notice again that there was some stuff in there that used to be there and then got cut out. You could sense that, again, not as much as you did with Batman v Superman, but yeah, I guess this also kind of goes together with the editing, that you could sometimes guess that stuff was missing, or that maybe they had thought about something but then they didn't shoot it, or yeah, sometimes you could just feel, maybe there was something originally there. Well, overall, I honestly can't complain about this movie. I like it. It's fun. It's your fun DC superhero movie. Again, the cinematography and the imagery in this is beautiful. Zack Snyder does this kind of stuff really well, and I do always love the visuals in those movies. And the music again was really nice, especially like the more modern songs that were cut in, like at the end, or with when Aquaman turns up for the first time or something like that. That worked really, really well. The story isn't like fantastically special or something, but I also didn't expect it to be. I honestly expected this to be about the characters and their interactions and how they find together, and it was. There were some characters in there that I thought got a bit more focus than others, or some characters where I thought they could have gotten a bit more focus. Like, as cool as Cyborg was, I wanted him to be like, play a bigger role in this. I don't know, since he is kind of the member in the Justice League the viewer knows about the least, also like in general terms, even if you haven't seen the other movies, like you already kind of heard about all the other members of the Justice League in one way or another, but I'd guess Cyborg is like the least famous one, I'd say. So I do hope that we get to see a bit more of him in future movies, but otherwise the characters worked really well. I liked the dynamics. The humor was nice. It wasn't too much, but there was humor there, which is always good. It wasn't too dark, but it was serious in the right moments. It also had some emotional moments, which was nice, but not too much. It wasn't overblown. It wasn't too full of itself, and honestly, I had a good time watching it, and that's all that counts in the end. So those are my thoughts on Justice League. What did you think when you saw it? Would you say it is as bad as most people say, or are you a bit like me and say, oh, well, it's not as bad as people say, or maybe this is kind of a movie that people bash and the movie didn't really deserve it? Tell me in the comments below. I'd love to hear. I hope you enjoyed this little review. Like and subscribe if you haven't done that yet, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.